Welcome to the Spring Hill Toyota High School Showdown. We're here at Spring Hill Toyota on Government Boulevard at I-65. I'm Mike Herndon.
I'm Brad Lowell.
And we're going to talk a little bit about high school football in the local area this week. Before we get to that, let's talk a little bit about what happened last week. And really kick it off with last week's game of the week, which was a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah, I mean, Alma Bryant and Baker. And Alma Bryant ended up getting a big win, not only, for their program, but also region win. And kind of floating there at with an opportunity, possibly if they went out, to maybe even have a chance at the playoffs. But Coach Haynes done a great job with that group and his coaching staff and the players, and they're really. It seems like they're improving week to week. But it was a huge win for them.
Another key game in that region was Murphy and Theodore went to double overtime. Big win for the Murphy Panthers to kind of keep themselves in the playoff hunt there.
Yeah, I mean, that was a classic game, and it was a low-scoring game. I think Theodore took the lead there, 14-7, with about 10 minutes left in the game. Then Murphy put a big drive together to tie it up, to get it to OT, and then ended up pulling it out. But that was a huge game, and Murphy, winning that game kept their chances alive there.
And in 5A, we had a game that outcome wasn't necessarily surprising, but the margin was.
Yeah, Viger Jackson. Viger came in this year, dropped the first 3 games, very uncharacteristic of them, but Viger is a team that traditionally always gets better, seems like, as the year goes. And Coach Scott, he was able to, seems like he has rallied his troops together, his coaching staff, and they've reeled off 4 in a row and then beat a really good Jackson team who is a traditional power every year, 33-0. That seems like that they got things rolling in the right direction. Viger does.
Well, tonight we're going to do things a little bit differently. We usually have the 2 teams from the game of the week, but our game of the week this week is Blount against Daphne, and since they're playing an out-of-county school, while we have the Leopards here with us tonight with Coach Lib Holly, we're also going to talk to Citronelle Coach Rusty Funk, who's getting ready for a big 5A showdown with Williamson. Citronelle had a really tight game with St. Paul's, one of the top teams in the state last week. And of course, Blount came back from really an amazing game that they just pulled up short, and an amazing comeback against Spanish Fort, and really took it to the floor last week. So 2 teams coming in with even though coming off a loss for Citronelle, coming in with a little momentum because they played well.
And both those teams, Blount's right there and still in the mix and controls their own destiny. I think they still have an opportunity to even get a 2 seed in that region, but also obviously to make to get into the playoffs and make a playoff run. And Citronelle's put them in themselves in a good position. Also, their big win over Viger early in the year. That was a huge win for them to also put them in a position where if they can win the next couple of games, they'll have a good opportunity of maybe even hosting a playoff game or definitely even making the playoffs.
2 teams in the thick of the playoff hunt, 2 games tonight that will go a long way toward determining where they end up in that hunt. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
When parents are involved in school, they get more of this and less of this.
Welcome back to the Spring Hill Toyota High School Showdown. I'm here with Citronelle coach Rusty Funk. Welcome.
Nice to be here.
Tell us a little bit, first of all, obviously in the middle of your region schedule, had a huge game last week and came very close to knocking off one of the top teams in the state. How do you get your team over that disappointment, so close, and ready for another big game this week against Williamson?
It's just, yeah, I mean, you go back to work. I mean, you know, Monday was another work day. We have another opponent. It was a disappointing loss. I mean, my kids played very hard. You know, we were both 3-0 in the region, undefeated, and you know, we had our chances, made too many mistakes, and just came up short in the end.
Had some great performances in that game, though. Jarvis, the quarterback, had a great game, and Joffrey Hutcherson, your running back, has had a great season for you.
He has. Carson did a great job. I think he was something like 16 of 21 coming in on, and you know, Joffrey had 12 carries for like 162 yards. He's a beast, and you know, we just got to hold on to football.
Coach, it seems like each year your teams have improved,
Yes,
and I know you lost some pretty good players last year, but it seems that guys have stepped in and have really done well.
We've done very well. I mean, we lost some good seniors last year. We have a good group on our defensive side. You know, we've had some attrition through injuries and whatnot. We're not as deep as we'd like to be, but you know, we've gotten better each week, and you know, we're hoping that, you know, we can take care of business the next 2 weeks and be able to host a playoff game.
Well, I know you started out the gate pretty quick. You had a big win against Viger. That was a huge win for your program.
Indeed.
And so now, you know, coming up and you getting to that last stretch, that home stretch, there's still so much really football left to determine your end of the year status in your region.
Exactly.
You know, how do you keep your kids focused in that retrospect?
Well, you know, we have our goals, and we focus 1 week at a time. You know, our goal was to try to maintain our region record. We didn't want to be fourth this year. We made the playoffs last year, and we were tickled to death to accomplish that. This year we did not. Our goal was not to come in fourth. It was to come and walk up the ladder. So right now we're still in a position that if we play well and against quality opponents of Williamson and Jackson, that you know, we have a chance to be at least number 2, and that's our goal. That's what we're shooting for. But you can't get there till you go through Williamson, which is this week.
Right. Tell us a little about the player you brought with you.
This is Jonathan Orso, defensive end senior. Does a great job. He's definitely a D1 player. You know, I can't sit there and rattle off all of his stats to you right now, but you know, he's a force, and everybody focuses on him. If you watch the film from last week, you'll see that they ran away from him. Right. They ran almost no plays towards John. So.
Well, Jonathan, how do you deal with that when they run away from you the whole game?
You just got to stay patient and do your job, because you never know, they might send a reverse or something to your side. And you just got to deal with multiple blocks. You got to hold your ground. And if so, fall to the ground and make a pile. And when your team needs you to make plays, you got to step up and make plays.
Coach said you're getting some college attention. What colleges have been talking with you?
I have a full-pay scholarship to Alcorn State right now. And many FBS schools are looking at me. I haven't got any FBS offers yet, though.
Excellent.
That's awesome. Coach mentioned about defensively. It seems that you guys have stepped up this year, and you know, the quality teams that you played, and in the games where you've had opportunities where you either have won those close games, or come up just short. Tell us a little bit about your defense and how you feel going into the rest of the season.
I feel very confident. I think this year we're playing more as a team. You know, last year if we got down by multiple touchdowns, we kind of gave up, but this year we kind of stepped it up and we never quit fighting.
We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
When parents are involved in school, you get more of this and less of this.
Welcome back to the Spring Hill Toyota High School Showdown. We're here with Citronelle head football coach Rusty Funk, and we've got a new player with us. We want to introduce another member of your defense here.
This is Mickey Reed, senior defensive tackle. He's one of those kids that, kids like John get the stats for sacks and whatever, and the linebackers make stats. And Mickey's one of those unsung heroes that takes the double teams and triple teams to allow those people to get those stats. He's a fantastic, probably one of the best defensive tackles I've ever had, and does a great job, and he continues to make our defense strong.
Well, Mickey, how have you seen this defense come together, and what, looking forward to the Williamson game, what do you see out of their offense that you need to stop?
Well, they have a good player, and number 18, he's a South commit. He's all over the field. I think if we can contain him, then we got a good shot of succeeding with the Lions. And I think our defense is coming together. We've all grew together. We've had time to build. We lost a lot of good players last year, but a lot of people stepped up. I think we'll be all right.
Coach talked about this program taking the next step. Finished 4th in the region last year. You want to finish higher than that this year. Obviously, the next couple of games are going to be pivotal to doing that. How do you feel about where you're positioned?
I think we control our destiny, and that's what he's always talked about. So if nobody's feeling sorry for us, we got to go out there and work, and we know what we got to do, and everybody's on the same page. I think we're on a good track right now.
Coach, you got obviously Williamson coming in, who they're a 4-3 team, could easily be 6-1.
Surely.
Based on the two of the games that they lost against St. Paul's, and then of course an overtime loss to Viger.
Mm-hmm.
Williamson seems to be very strong defensively. What do you see out of Williamson that?
I see the same thing. Defensively, they're so much better than they were a year ago. Mm-hmm. It's almost scary, but they use their kids in a scheme that they're comfortable with. They're very athletic, so slow developing plays are hard to do with them because they're going to get off the block. They might get blocked initially. They're not going to stay blocked.
Right.
And they do an excellent job on that side of the ball. Offensively, of course, like I said, they struggled some. Their identity is defense, mm-hmm. and keep the game close, create turnovers, and we're going to have to play a good game. We're going to have to play mistake-free.
And obviously, turnovers played a big role last week.
Turnovers have played a big role in everything we've done this year.
How do you fix that before this week?
It's again, it's ball security. We work on ball security, each and every week, and emphasize it. We have gotten better, but as I said, a lot of it has done with kids who are trying to fight for extra yardage or whatever and lose focus of the ball. And that's what we're trying to cure.
Obviously, turnovers play a big role in every game. If you had to put your finger on one other key factor you think will make a difference in this game, what would that be?
Penalties. Penalties are going to be it. If we can, our deal, if we can shut down their running game, which is what they do best, and protect the over the top and keep the game close, I think that that we have a chance because we have, football's 3 phases, offense, defense, special teams, and we're pretty decent at our special teams. And if we can keep things going and keep it close, I think we'll be okay.
Well, I know it's the 5A Region 1 is a very strong 5A region.
Yes, sir.
And you guys putting yourself in the position and earlier in the year, and now you play Williamson, and you don't want to look too far ahead to Jackson, mm-hmm. which Viger ended up beating Jackson pretty well last week. I know your kids have to be excited where they are and what kind of position, but I know you have to still keep them focused.
We have to stay focused.
Right.
I mean, we saw that in college football. It doesn't make any difference. Mississippi State beat the fool out of LSU, Auburn beat the fool out of Mississippi State, and what happens there? You can't overlook any opponent.
Right.
That's just, and especially in high school, that we don't play with a round ball. We have no idea which way it's going to bounce. So the whole idea is you have to play your game, stay focused, own your opponent, get ready to play that opponent and not overlook anyone.
That's Citronelle head coach Rusty Funk. They'll be playing Williamson tonight. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Spring Hill Toyota High School Showdown, and we're joined now by Blount head coach Lib Holly. Welcome.
Appreciate it.
Obviously, this is a super competitive 6A Region 1 and another big one tonight with Daphne. What do you see out of the Trojans?
Very, very physical, very active on defense. And I think they're starting to get some things rolling on offense. So we have our hands full. But you know, it's another Friday night in Region 1, 6A. So, like I said, Coach King and his staff does a great job, you know, of putting those kids in the right situation to be successful. So, just think I got to go in, just play blunt football, and never lose sight of our culture. But at the end of the day, just kind of go in and just be who we are, you know, and don't change what we do. And just play fast, play physical.
Little bit of a shake-up in the region with Baldwin County upsetting Saraland. How does that lead the playoffs picture?
Basically, if we win, I think we'll get a 2 seed. We lose, we're going to have some, of course, go beat Gulf Shore next week, but then have some help from Bike. I think Bike is all key. You know, and it can actually go in and be a 3-way tie at the end. So it's just kind of crazy, but I think the biggest thing right now, we're not focused on that. We're more focused on us going to take care of business.
Well, Coach, you know, as you mentioned, you pretty much still control your own destiny. And you've had a season of ups and downs.
Yeah.
You probably played in what might be the best game in the state this year against Spanish Fort. And we talked about that last week of how impressive it was. You know, even though you lost that game, the way your kids battled back from that halftime deficit when most teams would have just said the heck with it and got ready for the next week. And I think that spoke volumes of your kids and your coaching staff to turn it into what it became.
Well, I think, you know, I was proud of them. You know, first half it was real sluggish. It wasn't all cultural. Wasn't what we was coaching them to do. You know, and in Spanish Fort, you have to give them credit. They came and jumped out on us, you know, and it's a tough place to play. But I think our kids responded. You know, halftime, it wasn't nice, you know, and it was some calling out, but for the most part, you know, we said, hey, we're going to go with our guys that know that's been in there before.
Sure.
You know, a lot of times you look at it, you know, we're real young on defense, but we went in and moved the offensive guys to defense and said, hey, you know, did a couple things and just say, we're just going to play, have fun, and just finish these next 24 minutes, but finish them with everything we have. So very proud of them, had a chance to win the game, and hey, you know, I can't ask for nothing more.
That's right.
You know, because I mean, I've seen time when you go on the hill, you get beat, you get beat. So proud of them, and I think that goes to show you that we have a bunch of kids that's willing to fight, a bunch of kids that love each other, trust their coaching staff trust the players. So it's just a matter of just continuing to grow from that.
Tell us a little bit about the player you brought with you tonight.
It's Kyle Cass. Plays a little bit of everything for us. Started out playing defense for us this year. Ended up moving him over to offense, and has become one of the premier receivers in the area. Hard-working kid, great academic-wise, and high-character kid. So just really proud of him for the growth that I've seen over the last 3 years.
Kyle, y'all bounced back from that Spanish Fort loss, had a real big win over LaFleur last week. How long did it take you to put that game behind you, Spanish Fort?
You know, that Spanish Fort loss, it was big, you know, but like Coach say, every day at practice you got to have alligator skins, you got to bounce back, move on to the next opponent. and you got to stay focused on the prize and goal that we have in mind.
Hey, Coach said you do a little bit of everything, but you're primarily a defensive player. What's it been like on the transition to offense?
Transition, to me is in not really a jump. You got to stay focused. Get it, play calls, get everything that coach says. You listen real good at practice, and just be prepared. Watch film a lot, and that's really
Which one you like better?
I can't really say. I have
just
fun
like being
both.
on the field?
Yes, I just
There
like
you
being
go.
on the field.
Good diplomatic answer right there. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Spring Hill Toyota. We're here with Blount head coach Lib Holly, and another key member of the Leopards has joined us. Coach, you want to introduce this player?
Yeah, Jacoby Davis. Kid makes it go for us. One of my favorites I've ever coached. Just to talk about growth, and you're talking about just somebody that's just him, just humble, comes with a testimony, and just kid that, man, just come in every day and just do the best he can do, make those around him better. First class guy.
Jacoby, 6 touchdowns last week. You couldn't have thrown a couple more? What happened there?
I wish. I wish.
How's everything come together for you? Obviously, you had some big shoes to fill there, and a guy
Yes,
who's
sir.
playing down at Florida right now.
Yes,
What's
sir.
it been like coming in and taking over the offense?
It's been a real good experience. It's good. It's easier than I thought.
Is that because you got a lot of weapons around you on this
Yes,
offense?
and also my coaches and my players. So they always help me become who I am. So.
Now, this Daphne team has a pretty stout defense. What have you seen out of them, and how do you think you can attack them?
What I've noticed, they front D line, so that's my big toll on them. So.
Coach Holly, you look at this past year with Daphne, and they've been in a lot of close games, but it's a lot of low-scoring games. So obviously, when you look at teams like that, field position is going to be a key, and turnovers, which turnovers is the key every week, but especially in tight, low-scoring games that Daphne seems to play a lot of. Other than those factors, what are some things, other defensively, what are some things that Daphne does offensively that you have to be ready to?
Well, I think they run it well. The Michael Franklin kid, he's really, he's quick, he's powerful, and quarterback throws, I think he throws it well. And they got a couple weapons on the outside. They don't do a lot, but what they do very effective. But I think, again, like you say, the turnover ratio, I think we got to win that battle. Something that we preach every single day is that, we got to be able to match their intensity on every single play. But I think we'll be okay. I think we've done a great job of scouting, a great job of finding what our kids can do best. But we don't expect it easy, don't want it easy, and I know that they're going to come in and they're going to fight, and they want to win just like we want to win. But I think we just have to go in and keep our feet to the ground, keep one foot ahead of the other, and just do what we do. But I think, offense-wise, I think, if we don't be sound and disciplined in what we do, I think they can beat us.
Right. This offense is blessed more than most teams in the county with a number of different playmakers. Tell us about some of the other players on this offense who make it go.
Well, it starts with Jacoby. He's having a great year. He's over 1,600 yards. And, then you go to the backfield with Trajan Pugh, who's having a spectacular year. I think he went over 1,000 the other night. Then you go to the receiving corps with Collins Woods and LeBaron Jones and Kyle Cash and Jamarcus Poe Malden. Then you have a kid like Tayshaun Pelver that can come back him up, a kid like Tony Overstreet that came to us from Chickasaw. So I think the weapons are there. One of the things that I challenge the coaches, put the ball in the playmaker's hand. And there may be a night where one guy have to go with 20, and there may be a night where the guy that went with 20 have to go with 10. But I think it's a matter of managing out. And I think Coach Johnson, the offense coordinator, does a great job of doing that. And Coach Smith, the defense coordinator, does a great job putting kids in the right situation. And one of the things we tell them day in, day out is earn the right to be successful. And as coaches, let's put you in a position to be successful. So I think if that happens, man, I think we have a chance to win a bunch of ball games. So, but we're in part of the season where you just got to go in now and grind it out day in, day out, and just kind of hope that you can go out injury free. Right. And if you come out injury free, just go make plays. So feeling good about where we are, but just couldn't be more proud of working on a guy like Mr. Jerome Woods, his administration, the faculty and staff, and just just Blount football as a whole.
Welcome back to the Spring Hill Toyota High School Showdown. We've talked with Blount Coach Lib Holly and Citronelle Coach Rusty Funk, and that kind of takes two of the big games of the week right there, with Citronelle playing Williamson in 5A Region 1 and Daphne getting and Blount here in 6A Region 1. Right. Had a couple other big games last night, but what do you see with the rest of the schedule tonight?
Well, I think you got a real big showdown with St. Paul's and Viger coming up. I probably could end up being for the first place in the 5A Region 1. Might depend on tiebreakers, but they're definitely Viger's on a 5-win winning streak where they dropped the first 3 earlier in the year. They seem to be putting it all together. And St. Paul's has won some close games. This might be an opportune time for Viger to really step in and make some noise.
Like last week with Citronelle, where Citronelle had a shot at the win in the end there.
Right.
It was an interesting non-region game this week with Davidson going up the country to play Jackson. That's kind of interesting. If you remember last year, that was a barn burner of a game.
That's right.
Like 50-49 or something crazy like that. I think this game might be a little bit different. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you got 2 different teams than last year's teams coming into this season. Jackson's always historically has a very strong football team. But, last week Viger beat Jackson handily. But I'm sure they're over the course of the year, they've won some big games too, so it ought to be a close game, probably be a low-scoring game.
Yeah, this Davidson defense really, even though the loss this past week, turnovers kind of played into that and made that point total a little higher than you would than it actually looked. But
that's right.
Still a very good defense going up there to Jackson tonight.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for joining us for another episode of Spring Hill Toyota High School Showdown. Sit back and enjoy the game as Blount takes on Daphne in 6A Region 1.